Dustin.
What's up, Uber?
Nothing much. Nothing much at all.
Been a while since we've podcasted.
It has been, but the like you said, the viewer doesn't know that because we had so much stuff, we had so much backlog, it didn't matter.
Yep.
So you're welcome, everyone, for all the episodes. As you're hearing this, it is now April. So we've got some stuff to talk about, stuff that's on. All of these things are on streaming, actually. So we'll talk about those now, I suppose.
Yay.
So it sort of happened that we each independently came upon some John David Washington movies. Mm-hmm. And so I creeped on your letterbox and I was like, "Ooh, look at that." And so I went on and watched the same movie as you.
Yes.
Because I'm obsessed with producing this show. So
I have no interest in this, but for the sake of the show,
I'll do it. Cast.
But Frodo.
All right. Let's talk about BlackkKlansman.
There's never been a black cop in this city. We think you might be the man to open things up around here.
Hello, this is Ron Stallworth calling. Who am I speaking with?
This is David Duke.
Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. That David Duke?
God. Last time I checked. What can I do you for?
Well, since you asked, I hate blacks. I hate Jews, Mexicans and Irish, Italians and Chinese. But my mouth to God's ears, I really hate those black rats. And anyone else, really, that doesn't have pure white Aryan blood running through their veins.
I'm happy to be talking to a true white American.
God bless white America. The KKK is planning an attack.
How do you propose to make this investigation?
We'll establish contact over the phone. We'll need a white officer to play me when they meet face to face.
You for the white race, Ron?
Oh, hell yeah.
So there becomes a combined Ron Stallworth.
Can you do that?
With the right white man, we can do anything.
When's the last time they let a rookie lead an investigation? Oh, that's right. Never.
Okay, become his friend. Let's get invited back.
So what kind of stuff you guys do?
Cross burnings, marches. This is fixing to be a big year for us.
You ask too many questions. You undercover or something?
We must unite and organize to fight racism.
Are you down for the liberation of black people?
Power to the people.
All power to all the people.
All power to all the people.
That's right, sister.
For you, it's a crusade. For me, it's a job.
You're Jewish. That hatred, doesn't that piss you off?
You're taking this Jew lie detector test.
Why are you acting like you ain't got skin in the game?
I'm telling you, the wars are coming.
Black power! Black power!
Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
That's us, Stallworth brothers. We're on a roll, baby.
America first.
America first! America first!
If I would have known this was a Klan meeting, I wouldn't have taken this mother.
BlackkKlansman was released in 2018. It's been on my list for a long time, but it's directed by Spike Lee, starring John David Washington, Adam Driver, and Topher Grace, and a whole bunch of other people. So the story is John David Washington becomes the first African-American police officer in Colorado, I think. And
Colorado Springs.
And he essentially begins a friendship via the phone with a member of the Klan. And when the Klan's member is like, "Hey, let's meet up in person," he realizes I cannot go there. And so he recruits Adam Driver to be him in person, and he will continue being the phone person. And so they kind of infiltrate the Klan and discover what they're up to and what their plans are, and all with the ulterior motive of, bringing them down and, serving some justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the basic story. It's based on a true story. I don't know anything about the true story. I don't know how based on it is, but it's based on it. Man, like this was, I remember when this came out, it seems like it was well reviewed. I don't know what it has on Rotten Tomatoes, but it seemed like it was well reviewed. And it was on my list for a couple of reasons. One, John David Washington, was curious at that time. I hadn't seen him in anything, so I was curious. Denzel's son. What's he doing? How's he gonna be? And Adam Driver was in it, and then most notably Topher Grace, who I know you and I both like.
Yeah.
And he was playing David Duke in this, and so it was like this weird, like, I have to see what this is.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out to just be Topher Grace playing Topher Grace,
pretty much.
If Topher Grace was the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Correct.
There was no characterization.
No, I saw a Letterboxd review. I think it was on Letterboxd that was like, it was like one of those one sentence reviews of the movie, and it was like, I don't remember Topher Grace looking like or behaving like this in the 70s,
right?
And I was like, yeah, so there you go. It's another 70s thing for Topher Grace.
Yeah, I mean, I saw like they show like there's a video of David Duke that they show near the end of the film, and you sort of go, all right, well, there's not much characterization to the man. He's just he's otherwise a pretty nondescript white guy.
Yep.
So what are you supposed to do? Like you just play him like he's you and say terrible things,
Correct.
So I'm not sure what he was supposed to do.
Right. Yeah.
This has a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah.
Got a really high score.
Yep. I think star-wise, I gave it 4.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you enjoy the film?
I'd probably put it like in the 3.5-ish.
Sure.
I was really anxious the whole time that they were going to get found out.
Yeah.
I found it incredibly. I wanted to like just jump through the screen and be like, listen, the minute Adam Driver shows up and starts being Ron Stallworth, your involvement in this investigation, sir, should end because you're just inviting them to hear the difference between your voices.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. Like they never really address like overtly. I think maybe it was more like in the trailer or something that I saw this. I don't know, but no one overtly like talked about how Ron Stallworth had like a stereotypically like white voice or whatever, like that's how I can pass for white on the phone. It's like, I know, but like anyone and then he's like around these characters later and talking, and it's like, you should at least try to sound different there. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
There were times in the movie where I was like, I just don't see how this wouldn't just unravel.
Yeah.
And so that tension was there because I, as a regular human being who notices voices, it's like, okay, but
it's clearly
were phones that bad in the 70s that you can't like.
Right. But everybody just sound like,
like, am I taking for granted how crystal clear my phone calls are today?
Right.
Or how,
exactly.
that phone call must have sounded only slightly worse than this Skype call right now.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Did they just hear?
It sounds like when you do like a can on a string. Yeah. That sort of things. Yeah. No, I agree. Like, obviously, logically, I want to be like, okay, you have to mitigate the opportunity for them to figure this out. So you need to step away from the investigation and like spearhead it as like advice to Adam Driver,
right?
But don't be a part of it because they will find out. And so I started to like be pulled out of it for that reason. But then I was like, I guess this is just what happened. Like, right. I don't know. Like, I guess this is the true story and maybe I need to just leave it because that's the whole conceit of the entire thing. I'm like, surely they didn't just create a conceit of this thing. Like, so I don't know. I don't know anything about the true story. But I agree with you. It does take you out because you're like, they don't sound like they're not doing an impression of one another. It's very like obvious that these are two different people.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, listen, I'm not like pushing for the KKK to be depicted as like smarter on film.
Right.
But to me, it's just like, okay, but the KKK have ears.
I was going to say, but do they have ears?
Now, maybe they can't hear the humanity of their fellow man, but could they hear the difference in the voices? There's a whole section down here about like the historical accuracy in this. So, I mean, like any fictional tale, if you want to know how, before you sit there and go, well, it didn't happen that way. Go seek out the story.
Yeah.
You know, a film is a gateway drug to true events. You know, it's like, wow, what a great story. Did that really happen? Oh, I guess not really, but now I'll read about it. And, and now I feel informed. And so I get to enjoy the movie. We talk about this all the time on the show, like the frustration that can come with watching a good movie that's based on historical events. And then you go read the historical events and then you're like, you realize, oh, these were like rearranged for drama or some shit was just made up for drama. And then you're like, you feel hoodwinked because you bought into something that was not true. Like you feel tricked. Yeah. And that's just movies, man. And unless it's a documentary, there's really no burden of truth on films.
There's not.
And it's really not emphasized by Hollywood because it doesn't benefit them to remind you constantly that you're not being told the 100% truth.
Right.
Because films are supposed to emotionally move you. And it would suck if the film ended and said directed by Spike Lee. And then before the screenwriter credit, it's like, by the way, some of this was fake. Did you like that?
Right.
Did you like that? Hey, some of that was fake.
Right. Well, alternatively, like if they were beholden like 100% to what the truth was, you run. So like film has a structure and life does not abide by that structure. And so like it wouldn't work. Like you can't just take someone's life and put it on film and assume that it's going to actually translate well. You have to do some adaptation. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how much adaptation there was involved in this, but it seems like probably a lot, or at least a moderate amount. Like, but having said that, I think in terms of a movie, I was invested. I felt like, the time flew by and, I wanted the characters to succeed, and I felt the danger of, them every time they got close to being found out. And, certainly the villains, I mean, all the KKK are the villains. As a collective unit, they all are intimidating in their own way. Yes. Like even Paul Walter Hauser, who you're like, he's just like this dumb, sack of potatoes, but you're like
so obnoxious.
Yeah. But you're like, put a gun in that man's hand and you're dead. Like he's like just a loose cannon.
I want to heap special praise on Jasper Pakonen, who plays Felix. That man was scary. Because the whole time he's like, something's up with this guy. He's like, "Yep, are you a cop?" Like immediately, it's like, "Oh fuck!" Like,
yeah, right.
Like right away, he's like, he doesn't believe a word he says. He's constantly suspicious of him. He's a loose cannon. He's very protective of his incredibly racist wife.
Yep.
And I loved that guy. Felt dangerous, and so anytime he was on screen, I was like, "Oh my god." And the craziest thing is that this man is Finnish.
Really?
He is.
Well, I guess with a name like that, yeah.
Full blown from Helsinki.
Wow.
And I've never heard him speak. So I don't know, like if he sounds so, I'm not going to do a Finnish voice, but if he, if he sounds like happy, Eastern European or whatever. Yeah. Then hats off to him, because that guy sounded full blown from the hills of Alabama.
Yeah, I totally bought it. And I do want to give like a shout out to Paul Walter Hauser, because like that guy, everything he appears in, I'm like, this guy's so good. And he just pops in, does his thing, leaves, and no one ever like interviews him or talks to him or cares about him. And it's like, but he's good. Like the dude, like I have such a place in my heart for him, because he was off doing like Richard Jewell and like working with Clint Eastwood, and he's the star of this multi-million-dollar Clint Eastwood picture, and at the same time he would like pop over to Cobra Kai and do a random episode here or there, and I'm like, this show originally started on Netflix or on YouTube, and this guy just pops into stuff just because it's fun, and he always elevates it.
Yeah, no, everyone's really good in this movie. I thought Adam Driver was great.
Yes.
I thought John David Washington was good. Yep. I think that the reason I don't give it as high of a score as you is just because of all those things we talked about earlier about like, being taken out of the movie or feeling the pace was good. Like it felt quick, but there were times where I was like it was so almost so quick that it was like trying to distract me from inconsistencies.
Sure.
And so it's not that it felt false to me. It felt like, oh, I'm watching a movie.
Oh, sure.
And that's fine for me to feel. But here's what happens when I feel that. I go, oh, I'm watching a movie. Oh, I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
Because my brain wants Breaking Bad levels of prestige filmmaking.
Yeah.
So when movies and TV are that, I'm like, hell yeah. Like I'm feeling, I'm feeling like I'm feeling the verisimilitude.
Yeah, sure.
And as soon as I go, oh, I'm watching a movie, I go, all right, well, this is still fun.
Sure.
It's like I'm giving it a patronizing little qualifier.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you. You're just a little movie, aren't you?
I see what you're doing.
Look at you doing a little movie, you doing movie stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you both have to go undercover? Why couldn't it just be him? Oh, you're such a cute little movie.
For me, it's like, I loved the approach that Spike Lee took with the subject matter. Like, it's so easy to just make all the KKK members dumb, or make them all like redneck, or make them all, whatever, and like caricaturize them.
Yeah.
But to me, what was so interesting about this, and what was, I think, way scarier, was that they all just seemed like people,
regular people who believe in something dangerous and terrible.
Like you've already mentioned her, but the wife, Connie, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, because she pops in and she's like, well, if you ever need anything, just let me know. I'll be in the kitchen.
Before she talks, my first thought was, this poor woman probably doesn't even know what they're meeting about.
That's what I thought.
She probably thinks they're like talking about baseball.
Yes.
And then she like just busts out the N-word, and you're like, oh,
whoa.
Connie is full blown bought into this.
And then there's a moment like halfway through where she and her husband are in bed, and they're like daydreaming about what life is about to be like.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, this is, I can't handle this. This is making me squirm.
Very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Because just the things coming out of her mouth. Here's how I know I couldn't be an actor. I could not read that in a script and go, oh, I can't wait to say that tomorrow. Like I could not do that. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But like she delivered it, and it sounded, two things. It sounded real, which is scary.
Yeah.
And it sounded deranged, which is scary.
It was shocking to hear this kind of like speech constantly for 2 hours.
And it was so like offhanded. Like it didn't feel like, let's take special care to exaggerate or, like make this feel any kind of way. It was just like, oh yeah, we're going to go kill somebody. And it's like, whoa, you blew past that part. Like, how can you just say that? The same as like, I'm just going to go to Kroger real quick.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you just said you were going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You're going to blow something up. Well, I don't understand. And, and then like, so Topher Grace, you already mentioned that like, he just kind of feels like himself. And again, super scary because he's just like a dude.
Yeah.
And he's like on the phone, and he's very Topher Grace. And he's like, hey, well, I can put your membership card right on through. Don't worry about that.
A handsome, charming guy.
Yeah.
Who really does not like black people.
Who's a real piece of work.
Yeah.
Like I don't, and then there's the moment they're all watching Birth of a Nation and they're like cheering and I'm like,
wow,
I don't understand.
I want to disappear.
Yeah. I just have to go away for a while.
I'm watching this by myself in my house and I feel like I'm being looked at by thousands of people.
I was in a theater watching this and I was like, I feel like I shouldn't even be seeing this right now. Like it's that feeling you get like during like a rape scene or something. And you're like, I have to go. I can't watch this.
You say rape scene. I was going to say like Scott's Tots or something like that. This is like Kellen watching Scott's Tots.
I like Scott Tots. But I love cringe humor, but this goes way beyond that. Like, it's so like, I can't, I think there's two things about it. One, it's so blatant and so nonchalant. And two, in the back of my mind somewhere rattling around is this was real. Like even if this specific character doesn't really exist in real life or whatever liberty was taken, you're like, there were and are people who talk like this behind closed doors. And maybe not even behind closed doors. And you're like, I cannot. Like, that's the scary part. Like, we always talk about horror movies, right? Like, you can have your horror movie with ghosts and your goblins and your ghouls, and you're like, yeah, okay. But then the second it's like a mass murderer, you're like, this is way scarier because it's real.
Human evil is much worse than any supernatural horror that you can convey on screen.
Exactly. And this was way scarier because I'm like, this is real. Like, these are real people with real hate.
Yep.
And my mind can't fathom how a person can go that far down into this like hateful world that it just becomes commonplace to just say these things. And I guess you're in an echo chamber, so everyone's saying them back to you. But like, how do you not at your quietest moment when you're like pooping or something, how do you not just go, I feel like probably that's not a cool thing to say, what I just said.
Right.
I don't know how you don't have that impulse. Like, I guess you've just shut it off for so long that it just doesn't register anymore.
Because you poop in a group with your racist buddies, reinforce each other's beliefs. You don't get a moment to yourself.
Everybody, it's time for the clan to poop. Let's all go.
Yep. You just sit down and poop together, and it's like, now remember, guys, we hate, okay?
Now remember, take the robes off first. We don't want another accident, Nigel.
Now, we don't want to get these robes dirty. Very hard to clean.
Poop on your robe one more time, Nigel, and you're out.
We don't know how to do laundry. Please don't make Connie do the laundry, everyone. Because if she does the laundry more than she already does, she's going to want something in return. And I'm not ready to let her bomb this church yet. Or whatever. Because that's the thing about Connie. Like, not only was Connie loyal to the cause, Connie was eager to demonstrate value. And that was what was so scary. And so for me, like, hearing that kind of language and seeing that kind of eagerness to enact this cause was like, there was some times where I was like, all right, are we getting a little ridiculous here? Like with how cheerful this is. But then you think like, well, remember, it's a film. And two, like, this, I don't know, like, yeah, no one I've met is this racist, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right. And that doesn't mean that it didn't exist. And once you get to, the end of the film, you see it and you're reminded that this does exist still. What year was Charlottesville? 28. I mean, this was
20.
The film was 2018, so this is 2017.
I think it was 20. I think it was 2018. Like, I think it was very fresh when the film.
Yeah. 2017 or 2018 for sure. I'm going to do the self-righteous reader thing again. I recently finished reading a book called Leadership in Turbulent Times by Doris Kearns Goodwin. She's the same author who wrote Team of Rivals, the book that became Lincoln, the film. So Doris Kearns Goodwin knows her shit. And so this book is about Roosevelt, Lincoln, and Johnson, all these types of leadership or whatever. Anyway, so much of when you get to Lincoln and Johnson and you read just how ripe the political landscape had to be mixed with the right kind of person in the Oval Office at the right time with the right cabinet and the right, like opportunity to get all this stuff passed to, end slavery and to push through the civil rights bill and the voting rights bill. It's like, it's easy to look back now and say like, oh, well, that was obviously the right thing to do. Obviously, but like, think of how much resistance there is even under perfect conditions to get something finished, to get something through. Johnson had to basically exploit the national mood of the nation coming together when Kennedy was assassinated. And he was like, if we wait too long in the civil rights bill, other shit's going to happen, and they're going to remember, everyone's going to remember they're supposed to be hating each other. And we got to move. We have to get this going. And it's just like, and he spent all his political capital. Every last people, people were like, you're going to go down for this, Johnson. And he's like, I don't give a shit. This is my work or whatever. And the whole point being, we're still here. We're here in 2024 and there's grievous problems in this area still. And you think to like, okay, like how hard people fought and how hard civil servants went to try to get this fixed and improved. And just the prospect of that needing to happen some more perpetually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some people's whole life experience is watching that sometimes happen or not happen and just having to deal with how shitty life is in the interim. And to watch a movie where there's people in robes and people with tiki torches. And I was working in the news when Charlottesville happened. Like I saw a lot of what happened with Charlottesville, but you didn't have to work in the news you just needed an internet connection to see like how bad that was. And that poor girl got killed and a lot of people got hurt and it's crazy. And it was terrifying for them to end a film like that. But at the same time, objectively, you might be able to say maybe it's a little bit of like an emotional cheat to end a film with just real footage of things that are undeniably terrible. At the same time, it drives the point home of the film, which is all these people in this crowd marching look like regular people. And, if you saw them on the street, if you were behind them in line at Disneyland, you may never know.
Right.
But the minute, they pick up a sign, pick up a torch, put on a robe or whatever, that part of them is revealed, and the rest of it is just people hiding in plain sight. And
it's the equivalent of like doing the whole like telling a scary story and then being like, and then he's right behind you, and like at the end, and that's and so it is a little bit of like, I'm going to spend.
He's still out there now.
Yeah, I'm going to spend some time, making you scared, and then like leave you scared at the end. And it is a little bit of a cheat, and narratively, it doesn't really do anything for the story. This is an aside. It has the film is already done. It comes to a grinding halt, and is done. And then we see all of this and the idea that it is still out there. Like you said, it drives the point home, but it isn't based in the narrative. So I could see how some people would be like, well, this is, I see you're being a movie again. You're doing that thing where you're, you're talking down to me or you're whatever. But I'm like, I think what was interesting about it is had the film ended, I think you would have felt like I did, which was, hooray, we've won.
Yeah.
But we haven't, because David Duke is still saying all of this crazy stuff.
Yep.
So like, it's not over and it's not won. So it almost is like, while it does not narratively affect the film, it does leave you with the proper feeling, because I think Spike Lee was smart enough to realize that if we leave on this note, all the people in the audience get to leave feeling like things are better or they're solved, and they aren't solved.
Right.
And so he's not going to let you off the hook and let you think like, oh, cool, we're done. Great. Cool. We
good job, everyone.
Yeah. Good job, everybody. So I think it was a very smart move. And yes, it's a little bit of an emotional cheat, but it is emotional and it should be emotional. You just spent 2 hours being revolted and frightened. You need a little reminder that this is still happening. And the film doesn't necessarily have a call to action. It's not Spike Lee doesn't show up at the end and be like, now remember, if you see a racist, punch him in the butt. Like that doesn't happen. There's no call to action, but there is like a feeling of motivation at the end. Like for me, where it's like, be on the lookout. Like, just like these folks had to be on the lookout and like constantly guarding themselves. Do the same thing. They could be anywhere. It's like The Thing. It could be anywhere. It could be anyone. Again,
this is a Spike Lee movie, so like once you walk into it, you sort of know like, all right, I know Spike Lee's worldview, and I know, but this is sort of
his brand.
Yeah. So it's like it's. I think the movie starts with, usually those movies start with like a Spike Lee joint or whatever.
Yep.
But I don't watch a ton of Spike Lee movies, but I'm pretty sure this is the first film that began with, this film is based on some for real shit.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yep.
Well, there's Spike Lee for you,
Yep. There it is, right out the gate.
I mean, hey, good on it. I mean, a lot of people said this was his best film in years,
Yeah.
And so he continues to be respected in the industry and as a creator and as an artist and, as a voice and as someone who's out there, telling the stories he wants to tell and telling them,
with purpose
and not, and having the clout to tell studios like, here's what this story is going to be. And, you're not going to make me water it down or,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some compromises like any film, but I don't get the impression that Spike Lee is, being made to alter his films because a studio wants him to.
No,
because that defeats the whole purpose of artistic freedom, not just for any director, writer, filmmaker, artist, but especially for Spike Lee or anybody from a minority group. It's like, if I'm just here making movies just to make a living and make studios happy, then I'm not really doing my thing,
Right.
So I respect that.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Let's do this. Let's move on to another movie starring John David Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I recently watched The Creator.
What's heaven?
It's a peaceful place in the sky.
Are you going to heaven?
No. You gotta be a good person to go to heaven.
Then we're the same. We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And I'm not a person. They're coming to get me.
I'm like a bodyguard. I'm getting you out of this.
Take care of her.
I promise. Seatbelts.
The Creator is co-written and directed by Gareth Edwards, who we know from directing Godzilla and Rogue One. And this movie stars John David Washington, Gemma Chan is in this, Ken Watanabe, Sturgill Simpson's in here. Oh, okay. Interesting. Didn't know that was him. Allison Janney. And so the IMDb summary here, just because that's easier sometimes for me to do this, is against the backdrop of a war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child. So I watched The Creator because I've been hearing good things about it. I think it's nominated for a couple of Academy Awards. Of course, by the time this airs, it will have either won or not won those Academy Awards. Yep. Good luck with the creator. Let's start with this. So for a movie on an $80 million budget, it looks really great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in here that remind me of Rogue One. That's clearly Gareth Edwards' style is like scale. He's really like into visual scale. He's good at establishing scale. And I just remember thinking like the visuals here are really impressive for a movie of this budget. And I'm a big fan also of how this was an original screenplay. This wasn't based on some existing property.
Yeah.
The problem with that though is that it was an original story, but story wise, it was kind of underwhelming because it was predictable. It's just really messy at times. And when it's not, it's just stock and derivative.
Yep.
You got a guy who doesn't like robots, and then he has to save one and sees the humanity in it and others and changes his mind. I mean, it's District 9. It's Avatar.
It's every Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
Thing that's been so popular lately.
It's one of those 7 stories everyone always talks about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. It's just another AI is bad, but not always bad. And hey, AI is just like people and they just want to live in peace. But I've seen it before and I've seen it a lot. I recently watched, I recently attempted to rewatch iRobot. And I couldn't, I had to turn it off. I couldn't stand it. Yeah. The film doesn't age well for me because 20 years on to sit here and watch Will Smith complaining about robots. It's like, sorry, bro, they're not going anywhere. Like they're just going to keep making them. And he's just like, I don't know. You tell me a robot can do that. I'm like, yes, it can. Yes. Yes. That's what I'm telling you. And you're just like, okay, I don't think I can sit through 2004's version of tech phobia.
Yep.
So
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I don't own it, but I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, maybe I should buy this, but maybe I shouldn't.
I think you'll get sick of hearing. I'll talk about it later when I do my list, because I put it in my dishonorable mentions.
Oh no,
I did. Anyway, all right. So it's a fine lesson to be wary of whatever. It's not literally that robots are people, you know, in this movie. It's just that robots are clearly a stand-in for others who are oppressed and colonized and under attack, and they're just people like us, and that's okay. It's okay to make movies about that. It's a good message to spread. I just wanted more from this movie, and I want more from movies in general. So it's a movie like many others I've seen recently that's just cooler for how it was made versus cool because it's a good movie. That said, I'll give it a light recommendation because it'll deliver on the story beats for the average viewer. You know, the average person is going to go, oh, I know this story.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it play out. All this stuff looks new.
Yep.
And I don't have a toy already of this character.
Right.
You know, but if you're a serious viewer, you might just prefer to skip it. And I hate saying that because I like Gareth Edwards and I like original stories and I think it's cool that this movie exists. And so I wish for more of these to be made. But at the same time, I'm like, but I don't know, because everything it's got going for it is good. But because the story doesn't hook me or engage me, it's more just like, yeah, but you know, man, everything's here except for characters that feel engaging. Yeah. Nothing's wrong with the actors. The production design's cool, but it's just like, yeah, but if you've seen Blade Runner or just, you know, nothing, it's just, oh, here's the guy who has like the robot, like wife or whatever. And something happens to her. And it's just like, okay. Like I was bored, you know?
Yeah.
And, and I'm glad that it exists, but I don't recommend it to anyone who is looking for a little bit more uniqueness out of their films.
Sure.
So I'll tell people, like, if you haven't watched The Creator, you'll enjoy it because it's exactly what you expect it to be. And it's well made. But you, Dustin, I don't recommend it because I've
seen it.
I feel like you've seen it before. And
well, I mean, I have seen the movie.
Oh,
did I
was
review
right.
it?
You have seen it before.
Yes. Did I review that on the show? I guess I did.
I don't think so.
I was sitting here like being quiet because I'm like, I've already reviewed this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I felt the exact same way when I saw it. I was bored. I saw it in theaters because I was like, this is important.
Yeah,
I'm going to see this because I want to support.
Yep.
And yeah, it was the exact same thing. It was, I'm bored. I've seen all of this a million times over.
Yeah.
There's nothing new or novel about this. The idea of strong man escorting small child, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Done.
And like that to me, I mean, like, obviously that can be done well. Like we both really love Logan, right?
Yeah.
But like
The Last of Us is fine, but
that's been such a thing lately that you just go,
I'm just done with it, man.
Stop.
Like if I have to see one more, like, well, this will be the next Grogu.
Yeah.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
It won't be the next Baby Yoda. You're just stupid. You just can't make that happen. And why would you try? Like, it's been done. And I don't understand. Like, I do firmly believe that like stories can be original, but they're probably not. They're just remixed versions of other stories.
Yeah.
But this was just so derivative that I found myself just being like calling every twist and every turn, miles ahead.
Yeah.
And just feeling like the movie had nothing to offer me.
I wouldn't be surprised to hear that this took so long to get developed that the script was written before many of these things came out.
Yeah.
Kind of like the John Carter effect. It's like John Carter finally gets made and then it's like, oh, too bad.
It's derivative.
And it's too late. It's derivative now. And you just go, well, fuck. Okay, when I made it, it wasn't.
Yeah, it originated all of this.
Right.
And it
doesn't matter, bro. I saw it already.
Yeah, like maybe this was written prior to Rogue One. Like he just needed some clout so he could get it made.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe so. But at the end, but it feels to me.
As soon as Logan comes out, you just go, God damn it. You gotta go back and start over.
It seems to me like it was more made like because things are, it has this feeling of, when there's like a hit on the radio and then like 2 months later, a very similar sounding song comes out and you're like, you're just copying the other thing. And it's like, yeah, because that's what the record label wants.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this smacked of was like, hey, that's popular. Let's do that.
And I just wonder what the miscalculation was. Was it that Fox was getting like acquired in the middle of this? And so they had to push it. And because obviously, like, you're right. Like, no matter when the screenplay was written, 20th Century Studios was like, we want this film with these dynamics. So don't change the story.
Right.
But then they also said, we're going to put this in theaters in 2023.
Yep.
And we're a movie studio and we should take the temperature a little better.
Right. Well, and I think that's giving movie studios too much credit. They're not going to be able to take the temperature. They're only going to be able to say, hey, Baby Yoda sold a lot of toys. Maybe we can have our own Baby Yoda. And then someone's like, well, okay, cool. Let's do that. And so that's all this was. For me, like, the misfire was obviously on the story side of things, but I also think the cast was uninspired. Like, I'm not going to say that John David Washington, like, none of these actors are bad actors, but in these roles, they were written flat and they were portrayed flat. And I don't know if that was on the direction or if that was a lack of passion from the performers.
Yeah.
I don't know where to place that because they're all capable of more charisma than they show here. But like, it felt so bland, like everything.
I had hope because that first scene with Gemma Chan and John David Washington, I remember texting you and being like, God, this guy's pillow talk is just like his dad's,
Yeah.
Just the way Denzel Washington, like the way that everything he says sounds improvised and genuine.
Yes.
That's like his gift as an actor. John David Washington has that too.
Yes.
So he's either doing an impression of his father or he has that very same trait as a performer.
Yeah.
And he was allowed to do it for one scene because happy things were happening.
Right.
And the rest of the movie, those underrated beats and those underperformed beats where you're trying, everything's under the surface as a performer. Like once you can't externalize your emotions, then all of a sudden your performance is just unreadable. And then you just say random funny things that makes it feel like a Michael Bay movie sometimes.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, was that the studio?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was just, I'll tell you what it felt like. I don't know what it actually was, but it just felt like an overall lack of passion. And that sucks because like, I'm sure Gareth Edwards. So like, cause here's the thing, it takes an incredible amount of passion to make a movie because you're talking about years of your life that you're spending on one project.
Yeah.
In order to do that, you either have to have a lot of endurance for things that make you miserable, or you have to actually have a passion for the story you're telling.
Can you imagine seeing concept drawings for a ship you invented for like 4 years?
Yeah.
Like just, okay, Dustin, here's a slightly different version. You're like,
sure.
Yeah, it looks the same as it did yesterday. Is this the same slide? Oh yeah, sorry, hold on.
You get the effects back and you're like, no, we need more motion in that one gear in the chest.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
That's like the mind numbing. That's part of where you just want to like hand it off to another director and just say, can you just
finish it?
You just finish this. I don't care. I hate this.
Right. Yeah. So you have to be passionate, and he wrote it too. So like I'm sure he's passionate about it.
Yeah.
But on screen, I did not see that passion.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Gareth Edwards, and it was a solid effort, but that would be the big takeaway for me is like, this is all fine. Nothing technical is wrong with this. The soul of the movie, ironically, about robots and artificial intelligence is missing a soul.
It's missing a soul.
Needs a soul. All right. So speaking of soulless and lack of passion, can we talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom?
4 years ago, I was basically unemployed. A wanderer with no home. But now, I'm a husband and a father. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know how you did it, Pops.
My job was a little less stressful than yours.
Oh yeah, I finally got a job. I'm the king of Atlantis. 500 million people from every known species in the sea call this place home. But that doesn't mean they all like me.
I'm gonna kill Aquaman and destroy everything he holds dear. I'm gonna murder his family and burn his kingdom to ash.
He must be stopped, or a global meltdown is imminent.
I think I know someone who might be able to help us. Ooh, you look rough.
Good job, little brother. High five. Do not call me brother. I cannot believe you let this happen.
Yeah, well, I hate this job.
True king builds bridges, right?
True king builds bridges.
We need to find Manta.
He's different now. He's stronger than before.
It's the Black Trident. During King Atlan's time, there were 7 kingdoms. And the Trident was a curse upon them all.
The Trident's dark magic is spreading.
He means to end the bloodline.
I don't know what lies ahead, but we can't leave our children a world without hope.
You're not as bad at this as you think. If you lead, the 7 kingdoms will follow.
So what did I do? I gave this 2 stars, maybe. I don't know.
I think so.
Here's all right. Aquaman, I don't have a lot to say about this, but here's the thing. So Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was directed by James Wan, written by James Wan, some other people, including Jason Momoa, starring Jason Momoa,
Oh, wow.
Patrick Wilson, Amber Heard, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Nicole Kidman, Randall Park, Dolph Lundgren, Martin Short, blah, 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 blah.
Randall Park?
Yeah, Randall Park has a huge role in this.
Martin Short?
Yeah. I thought, dude, Randall Park's in DCU too. And like, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be for one scene. Dude's in like every scene in the movie. So, all right, let's talk about Aquaman. So the last Aquaman, Arthur is a guy, he is part fish, part man, and he's fine. And he challenges his brother, who's a mean guy, to the throne. Mean guy is the king. And so now he's like, I want the throne. And so he gets the throne, and my brother go to prison now. That was the first movie. All right. So this,
my brother go to prison now.
So the second movie, forward a few years. And Arthur now has a son, Arthur Jr., and he's living on land, but also he's commuting to work where he works in Atlantis as the king. And he hates that job because there's like a council that wasn't in the first movie that now exists. And they're like, we're not going to let the king do anything because we all voted and that's what we want. And so he's like, diplomacy, I can't get stuff done in my own kingdom. Mm-hmm. And so he hates his job. And then
he hates his job.
Hates his job as a child that won't sleep at night. So he's tired. And he's like, all right, whatever, this is dumb.
His wife also may have assaulted Johnny Depp.
His wife
keeps pooping on his bed.
His wife is simultaneously in the movie and then conspicuously absent from large chunks, for no reason. Lord help me, what happens in this movie? Then
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I am picturing in my head Amber Heard pooping on a bed underwater. And it's just floating away and she can't get it to land on the sheets. Guess I'll try tomorrow. I'm out of poop.
Oh, man. It's funnier than anything that happened in this movie. So Randall Park. So Yahya Abdul-Mateen returns. He's Black Manta. He's mad because Aquaman killed his daddy, and he wants revenge. And he and Randall Park are trying to find Atlantis tech or something. I don't know. And anyway, they find an old lost kingdom, hence the title. And in the Lost Kingdom, there's a trident. It's a broken black trident, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen grabs it, puts it together, and the soul of a dead king or something is like, hey, I know you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you all of my powers, and now you have all the powers of an Atlantean plus your suit, and now you can go kill Aquaman. And he's like, cool, that's what I wanted to do anyway. That's coincidental that you also want to kill Aquaman.
Sweet. It was like I picked up the right trident.
That was all very coincidental. And
it's my lucky day.
Yeah. And so that's what happens. And so he goes and he's like, the dead king is like, hey, go steal this thing called orichalcum. And it's this isotope or something that if you use it, Atlantis used to use it for a power source, but it was really bad for the environment. I want you to do it and speed up global warming by decades. And he's like, okay, cool. I guess in turn, this will melt the polar ice caps, which will free me, which is where I'm frozen. Oh, Lord. And so that's the plot. And Aquaman must stop him. And he decides that the best thing to do is to go break his brother out of prison so he can have help instead of call the freaking Justice League. And, hey, I'm going to go break a bad guy out of jail. Let him help me. Yeah, Clark Kent's on my speed dial. Mm-hmm. Could just ask him. Not going to do that, though. So anyway, whatever. So that's the plot of the movie.
Arthur, we can't call Superman. He's been recast and we haven't seen him yet.
Yes.
What about Wonder Woman? Unclear.
We don't even know if she's part of the new universe, honestly.
What about the Flash? He is wanted for assault.
He's wanted for assault, and I think he's in George Clooney's universe now, or maybe George Clooney's in his. It's unclear. I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say about these movies other than like from the get-go, they feel cheap. They feel derivative. It's paint by numbers superhero, but none of it works.
Mm-hmm.
And like the idea of like villain gets power from ancient thing. It's all just so coincidental. They just happen to get the thing. It just happened like that. The dead king needs the blood of Arthur Curry in order to come back. And it just so happens that the guy that found the sword Trident really hates Arthur Curry.
Hates Arthur Curry.
What are the chances? It could have been like a Kmart worker that found that trident. And
bring back Kmart. He goes and just kills the Weldon children. I'm gonna go murder the founder of Costco now. Bring back Kmart.
Yes. I don't know, man. What do you say about this? Like, the movie literally begins with a montage. I'm not making this up. Literally begins with a montage of Aquaman, of Arthur Curry, changing his son's diapers and his son repeatedly peeing into his mouth. He takes the diaper off and immediately urine goes straight into Arthur's mouth several times.
I have 4 kids and this has never happened to me. Nothing.
I have a kid. It's never happened.
Nothing that hilarious has ever happened. The closest thing that's happened is when Noah was a baby, he peed on my daughter's head from the changing table.
Well, that's understandable.
He arced it and
he arced it.
And
yes.
He made
but
it.
Never into your mouth. And then there's
ironically, he can't piss in the fucking toilet worth a damn. Maybe I should draw a picture of my daughter's head in the bowl.
Draw a picture of Jason Momoa's mouth. Every time, man, right in there. And then up to her usual bathroom hijinks, there's one moment where Arthur takes the diaper off and the pee does not go into his mouth. And he's like, hey, success. And up to her normal hijinks, Amber Heard uses her water telekinesis to arc it into his mouth.
Seriously?
Yes. And she laughs about it like, ha ha ha, I made him. I control water and I controlled the urine into your mouth.
As we've established, Amber Heard thinks it's funny when poopy and pee-pee things happen where they're not supposed to. So if it means sticking it to her husband, Amber Heard,
she will do it. Here's the thing though, like up to that point, she had been like absent from the movie. So she literally just pops in to pee in his mouth and then disappears again for 25 minutes.
If you need me, I'll be on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, exactly. And she laughs and it cuts away. It cuts away. And I'm like, do you have any idea? Like if I'm just throwing it. Look, I love my wife dearly, but if she had the power to control water and she purposefully put urine in my mouth, I would be angry. And they cut away from that. We don't get to see the anger. It plays out like a comedy beat. And I'm like, this is abuse. This is spousal abuse.
If this were Kevin Can Fuck Himself, they would go into the next room and then he'd be like, hey, what the hell? Not okay. What is wrong with you?
He would just be like chopping a carrot really forcefully.
Yeah. His hair is a little mustache still dripping with pee-pee.
Yes.
Yeah. It'd be like cartoon. Was it cartoonishly yellow too? So that the audience knows it's pee.
No, but it's obvious. I mean,
I started watching Succession the other day. And so one of the first things that happens in that show is someone pees on a carpet, and it is like the yellowest pee, and you're just like, come on, like
right.
I know this person's urinating on the floor, but you look at it and you go, gross. Like you like
that person drinks nothing but lemon lime Gatorade.
Yeah, it looks like someone's pouring Sunny D on the floor. It's like
Sunny P.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's how this movie begins, and you immediately know like this is not going to be a fun time, and yeah, then coincidences happen. Arthur has to fight back. There's a lot of moments in this where people get hurt, but then are immediately healed like a scene later. They're fine. There's a moment where Amber Heard gets
Amber Heard.
It gets Amber Heard, and she ends up in the Atlantean hospital. There's like, I don't know, like an octopus like trying to cure her or something, and like an octopus with a nurse hat, you know what I mean? Like the equivalent of that, and like a little stethoscope, and Mira's sitting there.
Is this the Bikini Bottom General Hospital?
Yes. Weenie Hut General. That's a deep cut for SpongeBob lovers. And she's like sitting there, she's got like burns all down her neck and body, and Arthur's all sad. And then I kid you not, and so you're like, oh, okay, this is how they wrote her out of the film, right?
Yeah.
But then like two scenes later, she's back, no more burns, fighting again. And I'm like, so there's no consequences. Like this drives me bonkers. And
they cut the scene where he goes, you know, what's going to heal those burns? A little bit of pee-pee. Like pees on her.
Yes,
he's
pee-pee.
like, who's the pee-pee face now? Huh?
Right.
Oh, you bitch.
I put urine in your IV drip.
I'll be staying with my mom's for a bit.
Yes. Speaking of mom, Nicole Kidman is in this for all of 4 seconds, and she has this action set piece where she's like clearly CGI in the entire thing, and I'm like, this looks awful. Like, so I got to talk about the look of it. Like, there's nothing real in this movie, not one thing. On my one sentence pithy letterboxd review is like, I've seen video game cutscenes before, and this is one of them. It's like it's the entire thing. It's like, cameras can't move like that.
Right.
That's what's starting to really bother me about CG is they're ignoring the way that a camera can move, and it betrays the cinematic language of the film.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm just like overthinking, but like if you with a camera cannot physically get this shot, it probably shouldn't exist.
In live action, yeah.
And also, like, if all of your shots are just like basic over the shoulder shots and like typical coverage, and then suddenly there's an action scene where there's like this really elaborate oneer where a camera is like spinning and jumping and flying and flipping, it's really jarring to me.
And it makes the boring scenes even more boring.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. And so there's that and whatever. And like Boba Fett's in this again for a second and whatever. Like the whole thing's dumb, but like,
I was like, what?
Yeah. It's such a weird thing. Like the comedy all falls flat. There's a moment where Orm, Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa are in the jungle, and Jason Momoa's like, you know what I'd really like right now is a burger and a Guinness. And Guinness is a big sponsor of this movie, by the way. So get used to that.
I thought you were going to say Guinness is a beer, Hooper. I thought you were going to tell me.
I was going to explain to you. And a burger is a patty made of meat from a cow.
You know what I can really go for right now is a Guinness and a Krabby Patty. Yes. On my way back from the hospital in Bikini Bottom, I was going to stop by the Chum Bucket. But yeah, there's this moment they're on land and whatever, and Orm is like, what do you mean a burger and a beer or whatever? And he's like, oh yeah, you've never had like human food. Like human food's great, man. Like pizza. Do they go to Burger King?
Yeah, and like pizza's great, man. And Orm's like, okay. And then I guess as a joke, he's like, Arthur's like, here, look, this is a human delicacy. And he picks up a cockroach from a tree. And he's like, eat this. And so Orm eats the cockroach and he's like, oh yeah, great. And then Arthur just like walks off. And I'm like, whoa, where's like the punchline? Like, isn't there a moment where like Arthur laughs and goes, I can't believe you fell for that dude. Like there's some sort of like,
well, you see, Dustin, we as the audience know that we're not supposed to eat cockroaches.
I get that. But
although I've been eating dates lately, like I love dates.
Dates are great,
but they look like cockroaches.
Yeah, they do. If you ever have a bacon wrapped date, that is the most delicious thing that exists.
I've eaten these dates so quick. It's only Tuesday and the bag is gone.
Yes.
But
every time
so
somebody
good.
talks about dates, I think of Indiana Jones and when he has the dates and they're poison and Indy throws one up and Sala catches it and stops him from eating it. And he goes, bad dates, and looks over and the monkey's dead from eating a date. Bad dates.
That I just had like a bowl of them like this morning, and I was like, this looks like a bowl full of cockroaches.
But like, and so to that end, there's that joke comes back. And at the very end, in the post-credits scene, because everything else in the post-credits scene, Orm finally gets his hamburger and he's like, sitting down at a restaurant and the waitress is like, here's your burger, sir. And he's like, cool. And he takes a bite and he's like, yeah. And he looks over and there's a cockroach on the table. Terrible restaurant.
Where's he eating? McDonald's?
Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? And so he grabs the cockroach off the table, puts it on the burger and bites it. And so the very last thing in the DCEU is a man eating a cockroach. That is the culmination of this entire thing.
How apropos.
How apropos.
You're saying, Dustin, that
it's a cockroach in a burger.
You're saying that they didn't use the post-credit sequence of this film to set up something in the DCEU?
Nope.
Why would that be? Could it be that there's nothing else coming?
Could be. You know what they could do? They could do like a really touching tribute or like a thing where all the Justice League is sitting around a table and having a laugh about one of their exploits that we're never going to get to see.
That would have been fun.
Yes,
like,
it would have been fun.
He eats the cockroach and you hear laughter and you cut over and there's the Justice League like in the birthday party room.
Yeah.
What a loser.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, Superman, what do you think of this Big Mac or whatever? And he's like, I lived here all my life. I know what a Big Mac is. I just say it cuts
to like the Hall of Justice and Arthur's telling the story. He's like, and then he ate the cockroach. And everyone's laughing. And like the Flash is laughing. Everyone's laughing. And they look over and like camera pans over and even Batman smiles. And he's like, I made him smile. Boom, cut, done, the end. Like
Batman's like, that's pretty fucking funny.
I will kill you.
I would have killed to see that is what I mean.
What is it he says in the Justice League Snyder cut post credits that I laughed at so hard? It's something like he says to Joker like
he says like I will fucking kill you or something.
Yeah, that's what. I was gonna say it's something like that, and I was like, the most Batman thing anyone's ever written for Batman to say, right? Anyway, whatever. This whole universe is a hamburger with a cockroach in it. It's terribly shot. It doesn't make any sense visually ever. The CG is terrible. Logic, there's no logic. Like Yahya Abdul-Mateen has like a whole army of people, and I'm like, how is he paying these people? And they all have like goofy costumes. Like this is like a 1960s James Bond movie.
Oh boy, yeah. Where did you get these uniforms?
Yeah, you all have the same uniform and they're all this really goofy uniform, except for Randall Park, who never wears it. And like terrible script writing where it's very repetitive. Yeah. Like I'm starting to pick up on that too. A lot of films these days tend to be very repetitive. Like you could just hit the point once and I get it. Right. Like, but I find myself doing that. Like I'm writing a script and I was rereading it today. And one of the things in my mind was I have got to get better, at not reiterating points.
Yeah.
Like I have a very finite page count and I have to keep it truncated. So if a character says a thing and somebody says what, and then the character repeats the thing, delete it.
What?
And like I have a tendency to phrase and then rephrase. And I do that in my personal life, and it comes out in my writing. And when I read it back, I go, that I've already said that. I don't need it twice. And so I see that in films like this, where there's a moment where Yahya Abdul is like in his room and on the ship or whatever, and he's talking to the Ghost King or whatever in his mind. And Randall Park walks up and he's like, "That's awkward. You're talking to yourself." And then the doors close and Yahya Abdul Mateen's like really mad at him. And he's like, don't sneak up on me. And then like 3, I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes later, Randall Park goes back over to that area and the room is empty. So he goes in the room and starts fiddling with things. And then Black Manta finds him and he's like, "I told you not to come into my room." And then a third time they have done something evil, and Randall Park comes in and sees Black Manta in his room again with the evil thing that makes Randall Park uncomfortable. And I'm like, so 3 times you find information you shouldn't have just in his open door bedroom. This is a terrible screenplay. Like, the writers couldn't come up with any other way for him to gain information other than stumbling upon it in his room.
Terrible boundaries.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is repetitive. You know, it's lazy. There's no logical anything. Like, obviously you have to figure something out to do with Mira, but that doesn't work. They set up a bunch of things, like in the first scene, in one of the first scenes, the baby Arthur Jr. is sitting in front of an aquarium that they have in their house with some fish in it. They look and the fish are like moving in a very specific way. And it's clear that the baby is communicating with the fish. And so you would think, oh, okay, this will come back into play. And Arthur's like really happy. Like, I finally get to share this gift with somebody. Like, somebody else can talk to fish. But it never comes back. And I'm like, but you clearly are setting something up. Like, you would expect, this is a bad idea, but you expect like at the very end, Arthur's in danger and the baby calls a bunch of fish to save him.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like, obviously a 1-year-old baby would not have the mental capacity to understand dad's in trouble. Let me call fish to help.
Maybe her first words are "help, daddy."
Help daddy, fish. Yeah.
Fish.
And thank you, fish.
Thank you, fish.
And so, like, yeah, it's just, you're setting something up that you don't resolve. You set up this idea of like, Arthur hates his job. He hates being king, but that never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
They never reach a point where he's okay with his job or he fixes it for the better or anything. And the last thing I'll say is
they should have ended it like Office Space. It's good. It's good. It's good exercise. Fucking A, man. Fucking A.
Yes.
Can you imagine if that's how the DCU ended?
Yes.
With someone just saying fucking A?
Yep.
Directed by James Wan. Thank you, fans.
Yes. You want to know how this movie does end? So this is a little bit of a spoiler, but the movie ends and it's derivative of 2 Marvel movies in one.
Oh,
and as
boy.
I'm watching it, I'm like,
ugh.
You've got to be kidding me. So it's a press conference.
Okay,
and Arthur,
it's like Iron Man.
And Arthur goes, for too long, Atlantis has lived apart from you. We'd like to reveal ourselves to you now and share.
Panther.
It's Black Panther. We'd like to share our resources with you and join together for a better tomorrow. Okay, cool. That's Black Panther. Got it.
Did this script and the creator script both hop out of the same time machine?
Yep.
With their sensibilities?
Yep. Yes, correct. and then how does he end his press conference?
I am Aquaman.
I am Aquaman.
Seriously? Oh, man.
Except there's a little twist on it. Here's what he says. He goes, I am Aquaman. woohoo, yeah, dude, bro, and like walks off as if that's really funny. And that's the ending note. Well, that and then the cockroach. And I'm like, you
imagine people like when the credits like stop in the stand. Oh, thank God, there's something else. Yeah. Thank God we're not ending like this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna eat this bug. Jesus Christ.
So I just, the last thing I want to say is I want to compare this to actual superhero movies.
Okay.
So the last 2 DC movies that were released, I know there was Blue Beetle. I don't really remember how that ends, but which is a problem unto itself. But The Flash and Aquaman. So The Flash ends. Did you ever see The Flash? I can't remember.
I never saw it. No, I didn't.
You never saw it.
No.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert.
From what I could tell, there was no reason I would enjoy it.
Yeah. So The Flash ends with Barry being like, hey, I'm going to call Bruce. And so he calls Bruce, and it's George Clooney. George Clooney gets out of the car.
Yeah.
And he's like, what did you want, Barry? Or something stupid. And Barry's like, you're not Bruce Wayne. And he smiles. And earlier in the film, he had like punched himself or something. And Ezra Miller's Barry's tooth fell out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he used super glue to glue it back in.
Okay.
And it's like a joke. And it's not funny, but it's a joke. And so the movie ends with him calling Bruce. It's George Clooney, and he's like, "You're not my Bruce Wayne." And he smiles, and his tooth falls out. Like after all that, the whole movie, his tooth falls out. So you end with this like lackluster joke of the tooth falling out, and it's like, and this one ends with, I am Aquaman. Yeah, dude, bro. Cockroach. And then and I'm just like, oh, and the Flash gets a post-credit sequence, or like a post-credit scene or whatever. And it's another comedy bit. Oh, it's a Flash and Arthur. After a night of drinking, they're both drunk, and Arthur. Arthur falls into a puddle.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is my home."
Right.
And he's like, and so these movies, the DC brand has gone from like dark Zack Snyder,
serious,
muscular men, serious, no jokes ever, to ending the movie with
yeah,
and it's such a harsh like switch, and it's so bad because I want to compare this to a real superhero movie where it just keeping with two. I'm going to give 2 examples here of. Or I would give 3 examples. I'll give 4 examples. They keep coming to me.
Don't push me now.
How does Batman Begins end? I never said thank you, and you'll never have to.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Great. That's a great superhero ending.
Yep.
How does The Dark Knight end? He's a Gotham. He's a silent protector. He's the hero we want. Whatever. Dun, 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 dun. Heroic. Yay.
Yeah.
How does The Dark Knight Rises end? Even it's Alfred finding Bruce in a cafe with Selena Kyle happily ever after.
Yeah.
And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt finds the Batcave, and we have a new successor to the Batman
platform
mantle,
raises
presumably.
up. Yeah.
Rises up. Dun, 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 dun. And how does Superman the movie end? It ends with Christopher Reeve flying into space, like enjoying his ability to fly, and looking dead at the camera, the most charming smile, and flying off. Dun, 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 dun. Superhero time. This is really fun. We love superheroes. And it's like inspiring and uplifting and great. And I'm like, how do you go from these heroic things that are like, uplifting and encouraging to his tooth fell out. He ate a cockroach. I just don't understand the switch. My mind cannot fathom it. And like, I don't understand. Like even if you jump over to Marvel, like the Sam Raimi movies always had great endings. It's him, swinging through the city. It's, it's like this big triumphant. I've rescued, the people, and I've, won the day, and this is great, and look how fun it is to be Spider-Man, even though it's hard. Yeah. It's like all of these things that you want in a superhero movie, even the original, I am Iron Man. That's a shock. It's a twist. It's fun. It's like right in line with that character. These are great endings. I can't, my mind boggles to think that a screenwriter goes, I'd like to end my movie with a tooth falling out. I don't get it. Wouldn't you rather, like, if you don't even have to know anything about The Flash to think like, I should probably end my Flash movie where I anticipate having Flash sequels with somebody like, this is really old fashioned, but like with somebody going, help, and Barry like changing into super speed and like, running towards the camera.
Yeah.
And you have like some like, he slows down, he smiles, like that just seems like a no-brainer. Or how do you end an Aquaman movie?
It would be very simple, Jack, though, to do that with the way he runs. If you just had this goofy smile and he was going,
right.
I like running.
I'm really fast at it. I just can't. You cannot start a movie with pee in the mouth and end it with a cockroach in the mouth and expect me to enjoy this film. Stop putting things in your mouth. You're a king. Lord have mercy. How I just think of that Mike Stacklasa voice. How embarrassing. Lord.
Oh,
how embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
I mean, geez.
Stop putting things in your mouth.
Stop putting things in your mouth. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
The ending of a movie is super important.
It is.
That's what you leave. That's the taste in your mouth as you leave.
In this case, the taste in the mouth was pee-pee and cockroaches.
Was a urine-caked cockroach. New from Ben & Jerry's.
Okay, well, have a terrible day, everybody.
You know what? 2 stars was too generous. I'm going right now. Hold on. Live. This is happening live.
You're going to change it on Letterboxd?
I'm changing it on Letterboxd. I was in a good mood. I'm not in a good mood anymore. This is a terrible movie. 1 star.
Oh.
Get out of here, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Did that change in real time? Yes, there it is. 1 star.
It's done. It's done.
When I see a movie that comes off to me as like, oh, this is going to be a chore for me, or oh, like I'm thoroughly. It's weird. Like some movies are just so transparently like, this just looks bad. Like it looks like, oh, there's CG and stuff like, but like sometimes you can just tell like this is just papered over bad.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Somebody was pointing out the trailer for the Wicked movie. And she said, I'm not excited about the production design because it looks just like all the other, like, candy coated CG sheen that's on a lot of movies these days. It's that uninspired, like digital landscape. And it just automatically signal like it may be like objectively pretty looking, but it kind of looks ugly.
Yeah.
Once you like see it move and there's people in front of it and you just go, oh, no.
I didn't see the trailer for that, but I saw a couple images. It's just like, I don't know if it's an over reliance on CGI. I mean, it is, but I don't know if that's the reason for it being so bad or whatever. But like, you do have to think when like the original Oz from 1939 or whenever that was looks better than your current film.
Yeah.
You got a problem. Like has aged better.
Yeah.
Like, because I can't imagine that we'll be looking at like Ant-Man Quantumania in close to 100 years and going, this still ages pretty good.
I think what it is could be like production design and cinematography aren't talking to each other in the pre-production phase.
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like you're getting like a blue skied, like, well, here's what we can do with digital. And so these wacky drawings of Oz you made, this is completely realized and it looks great. And like you spend like months, like just looking at the look and looking at, you know, concept drawings that all match each other in style. And then you put a human being in front of this and you go, oh, this looks weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like
uncanny.
Cynthia Erivo would walk around in this environment where buildings are shaped like this. I feel like humans would be shaped different.
Yeah.
Like these are humans that we recognize walking around a world we don't recognize.
Yeah,
At least Middle Earth, you're like, that's a tower. That's a tree. That's a building. That's a river. Like this, it's a different world, but I know what a fucking mountain looks like.
Yeah.
You know, but everything around me looks real.
Well, that's a good point. Like in Aquaman and Lost Kingdom, there's a lot of shots of like Arthur and his mom and Mira and whoever else in like some sort of, I don't know, like meeting room / control deck observation room. And it's all just like lights and crazy swirlies. And it's like, look at all these beep boops. And my brain doesn't understand what any of it is.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I guess that looks cool on paper, like in a frame, but I don't understand. It doesn't feel lived in. It doesn't feel like Arthur could turn around and touch something and I would understand what it would do or be. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I get it. It doesn't feel lived in. It doesn't feel tactile because it's not designed to be touched. And that's a problem. Not to mention in those scenes, they're always underwater and they have the worst CGI hair floating around their faces.
Yeah.
Ugh. So distracting. Dolph Lundgren in this looks like he is a stop motion animatronic. He does not look. I'm convinced there is one of those scenes in this movie where it is literally just people's heads on an entirely animated background and entirely animated bodies.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Aquaman, why don't we go over here and look at this thing? And I'm like, people don't move like that when they talk. You're over animating them.
This is like jib jab.
And their hair is going.
Yeah. Did we film this scene over Zoom?
That's what it is. That's what it is. I guarantee you, they got Dolph Lundgren on Zoom. They paid him to film a cameo.
Yeah.
And they cut out his head. That's what it was. They were like,
that's how we get around the SAG minimum is, oh, no, he's not acting a film. We're paying you for a cameo.
Yeah.
This is going to be $150.
Hey, Dolph, my name's James Wan. I'm a huge fan. Would you mind just saying these things, these phrases? Sure. It'll be $220. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Big fan.
And then he goes to the movies randomly and he's like, is that
what the fuck?
Yeah. Am I in this movie? When did I film this movie? Calls his agent. When did I film Aquaman? That was a cameo, sir. What?
He just says, Dolph, look, I honestly don't care. I don't have time for this. Dolph, I have real clients who have real problems, who actually are really getting like screwed over.
Yes. Yep.
It's not my fault you didn't read the fine print I gave you, okay, asshole?
At this point, Dolph, just take the $225. Have a nice dinner.
Dolph, if you make a big stink about this, you're not going to get any more phone calls. We don't know if there's any more Creed movies coming.
Look, Michael B. Jordan hasn't called, and you're still in that feud with Sly.
Stallone's not going to call. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Are they in a feud?
Yeah. They were.
When?
Because Erwin Winkler, who is in a feud with Sly, was
and
like,
Dolph,
I'm gonna make a Drago spinoff. And Dolph is like, I'll do it.
Right.
And they're like, cool. And Sly's like,
hey.
Oh, I created that character, man. Like, what are you doing? I used to have respect for you. Now I don't. And I think they've patched it up. I think Dolph was like, sorry, man. And he's like, cool.
I think he said something like, I wasn't aware of this situation.
Yeah.
Like, buddy, I don't read the news. I don't have a Google alert for your name.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know this was happening. I got my own shit going on.
So I was like, I get to punch you 2 times now.
Yeah.
Stand right there.
Yeah. No, you don't get to punch. No, you made a mistake. I didn't do anything wrong. I will not accept these punches.
Hey, you gotta take those punches.
Are you drunk? You know, come on, Sly.
Hey, I'm not drunk. You're drunk.
I'm
the soberest anyone is.
You're an idiot.
What? Sly, that doesn't make any sense. You gotta keep moving forward. It ain't about how hard you can hit.
We're gonna take it to the next level.
Sly, you always say these things when you're drunk.
You're always talking about taking things to the next level. What are we taking to the next level? What's going to the next level? Your BAC?
Adrian!
All right, let's get him in the car. We're going to rehab, Sly. Adrian!
Hey, Paulie. Oh, no.
Paulie?
He actually thinks he's Rocky now. Oh God, he's had way too much.
Are you saying Apollo or Paulie? I was saying Apollo.
I'm saying Polly Creed.
Polly want a cracker. Scooby-Doo. Is this old Milwaukee or acid?
The answer you're looking for is yes.
Did you know I'm a member of Mensa? I would never do such a...
It turned into Gollum there for a second.
It's either Gollum or a
precious,
a sick cat.
Same thing.
I hear that outside my window all the time. I'll be sitting here like writing and I'll just hear... And I'm like, oh fuck, what is that? There's a window right here, and there's like a little like thing they like the perfect little like bed of dirt that they like to sleep in.
Yep.
And I guess they fight over it because like one of them will show up and be like, hey, this
is mine.
It's my spot, and then he's like,
and the other one's a pacifist. So
yeah,
it's
the
just
other one's like, hey man, it's all good.
Oh, it's cool. It's
Whoa,
cool. That's all you had to say.
Whoa, I don't want any trouble.
Yeah,
The
I don't want any trouble.
A pacifist. Okay, goodbye everybody.
Goodbye everybody. We're just rambling at this point. I have to show you a video. Hold on.